Oupa Pilane is the chairperson of the Kruger Lowveld Chamber of Business and Tourism. He joins us now to speak about this. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. So, just how bad is the situation? Obviously, it came to the attention of the public of late, particularly because of the killing of German tourists. You even had the police ministry commenting on it. How bad or tenuous is the situation?
Good evening, Chairperson, and good evening to your listeners. Look, we have been having serious challenges along the route, especially the Numbi Gate. We've seen a number of muggings, we've seen a number of attacks on tourists, and I think that necessitated us, after engaging with the police and government and seeing very little intervention, as the private sector, we then mobilized our own funds to then deploy private security on that route to assist us to make sure that the tourists, not only the tourists, but also the citizens that use that road are safe.
So, what type of a crime is the problem at the moment? Obviously, this being a tourist area as well, one had imagined that this is a target, but is it just aimed at tourists or is it general crime in the area?
Look, I think so far, well, there's a scourge of crime in the country, but we were concerned, especially with foreign tourists and other tourists, domestic tourists that do not reside along that area, because we've seen quite a number of vehicles being stopped and drivers being marked, their cameras being taken, and that was ongoing to a point where it became a serious concern for us. And that also meant that we needed to look at how best we could communicate with tourists to keep safe on that road, but also to look at what measures we can put in place to ensure their safety and also the safety of those that use the road every day.
There were calls earlier on for the Numbi Gate to be closed. Is this a viable solution? Is this the only way to stem particularly the crime against tourists in that area?
It is not, and I don't think even that thought should cross our mind. We need all the Kruger National Gates opened, because if you close one gate, you are not solving the problem. You are basically moving it to the next gate. So what is going to happen is that if you close Numbi Gate, the challenges that we are experiencing at Numbi Gate, we are going to experience them in Pabeni Gate. So the solution is not to look for an easy way out. We have communities that have got challenges and have raised concerns around beneficiation from the park itself and other tourism programs which happen along the Kruger National Park. And I think our duty as both the private sector and government is to work closely with those communities and say, how do we come up with programs that will benefit them, but also will ensure that they take responsibility and they own that tourism along that Kruger National Park belt. Currently, we have a challenge where they really are not seeing the direct benefits that are accruing to them. So that becomes a challenge for all of us, and we need to urgently look at those projects to assist communities, but also we need police visibility there. We need to be able to see police patrolling those roads, which currently they are not, and that is why we were forced as the private sector to look at alternatives of securing those roads.
I mean, just to look at some of the complaints that people have had, particularly tourists, about how they find themselves vulnerable. They say the signage or directions, for instance, once you pass the gate to go to Kruger are bad, and it leads to people getting lost and therefore finding themselves in vulnerable positions. Are these some of the things that could be done to help alleviate the criminality, and also perhaps posting more law enforcement officials, I don't know whether along the road, or what would you be suggesting?
It is true, the signage on that road is terrible, and we've raised this with authorities. And I hope that we will now, with government, begin to put a program to make sure that all the tourism routes, not only the Kruger National Park, all other attractions in Mpumalanga are properly visible in terms of signage. Because right now you definitely are getting lost. Even your Google Maps, sometimes they take you to some weird places. So we really need to improve on signage. Secondly, we need to train more communities to be guides. And we need to be able to say with government that if they appoint these tourism monitors, we need to make sure that tourism monitors come from the communities along those areas that we want to monitor, because it is those communities that know each other, and they will certainly know who the criminals are should any crime be committed. So we really need to work closely with communities in all our attractions, near all the attraction centers in Mpumalanga, and we need to get them involved. And by getting them involved, it means we ensure that they benefit directly from the tourism that happens in and along their areas. They can't just be spectators and watching buses and tourists passing by there in the midst of poverty. So we really need the Kruger National Park, Sun Parks to come on board. We need government to come on board, and everybody should come on board to resolve this problem. It cannot be solved by police only.
Thank you so much for your time. Oupa Pilane, Chairperson of the Kruger Lowveld Chamber of Business and Tourism.